One of his skills that I kind of want to develop for myself is his ability to build teams. For whatever he needs to succeed. You know what I'm saying? I feel like a lot of times when you come from the bottom, you got this mindset that you got to do it by yourself. You got to do it by yourself. Right. You got to grind it out. And in a sense, you do, but there's some things that take away from you actually succeeding if you're trying to do everything.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And Reginald was genius at building teams and knowing when to not spread himself thin.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about it with the McCall deal.
Oh yeah. I mean, essentially with that McCall deal, McCall was a sewing company that he actually found that deal in Forbes magazine. So Forbes magazine at the time was talking about a company, Edwin. I don't know the exact name of the company, but they were selling off a piece of the company, which was McCall Pattern. And McCall Pattern, they had basically any kind of stitching in it or sewing at the time. They were one of the largest market shareholders of that in that industry, and there was like one of three. And he locked his eyes on that deal, and obviously we not to circle back, but he had a couple deals fail in the beginning, which helped him to get better. So I mean that was a part of helping him build his team, because he had a radio station that he bought in the Cayman Islands or in the Caribbean that failed miserably, and he ended up selling off at a loss, which then prompted him to go into the McCall deal. But you know, once he started to put that deal together, like you spoke on it earlier, but you know, putting the pieces together, you know, what do I need to get this deal done, and who are the people I need to get this deal done, and how can I get them to buy into my vision? Because I think that's the key part of team building, is being able to get people to buy into your vision.
Right, because he didn't just go after any old average Joe and say, you know what, I need you to develop the skill just because they were his homeboy.
He went for the best of the best. And,
top dog.
Yeah, and like one of the women that he incorporated was her last name was Celeste, and she worked for Bear Stearns and Company, which was another law firm. She had a certain skill set that he seen that he needed to help him in his litigation. He hired finance guy. I can't remember his name either, but he had a finance person that he needed to bring into the fold to help him with the logistics of the money.
Just for people who don't understand the McCall deal, how much was it going to cost to get McCall?
$22 million.
So do we remember how much he had?
He had $1 million.
So he was $1 million man at this point.
Yeah, he needed $1 million close, and he actually was able to come up with $1 million.
So he needed $1 million.
Yeah.
In order to get the financing. So
in order to get the financing.
So McCall cost $22 million.
Correct.
And so he needed financing.
Yes.
Which means he needed to convince the lenders,
the investment bankers, and just to talk about that a little bit, at that time, investment bankers were like these mysterious people that nobody knew. They were just some really wealthy guys, people that had a lot of power and basically could make or break a deal. And you talk about a young black guy coming up in the business, trying to build those relationships is a challenge in itself. So there was barriers and hoops that he had to break through. And I don't know if you remember in the book, but the deal he did trying to acquire the furniture company.
And he lost it.
And he lost it and he ended up actually winning a lawsuit against the gentleman he lost the deal to, because it ended up being some racial bias in it. Because the guy come to the table and said, hey, I just don't want to do this deal with him. Those are the challenges that he faced at that time. So you fast forward.
A lot of people will think just because you got the money, this person's going to want to sell it to you. But sometimes the person who's selling may not want to sell to you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And he learned that lesson then. So he's like, okay, not only do I need to come up with the money, but I need to come up with someone to ensure that you're going to want to sell to me.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. And
he learned that from that deal.
Yes, absolutely. And then even with that, he learned how to navigate those waters a little better too, because his team was diverse. He didn't just have all brothers or just all white guys or all women. He had the best of the best that he had tried to acquire to get these deals done. And with having those people on there comes their resources. So the guy he brought on to help him with the accounting had relationships in the investment banking world that he was able to capitalize on, which helped him. And I think a lot of that also, talking about the McCall deal. Let's just fast forward. I mean, he was able to sell that company for $90 million.
All right, and that's the craziest part. So he bought it for 20.
He put $1 million in.
He raised $1 million. Because he got what? Yes. Didn't he get what? Family members.
Yes, and some private buddies that he had, that helped him with it. $1 million, and then he had some some real estate. We could talk about that too. He used his part of his real estate. He bought a brownstone. Him and his wife, when they got married, they bought a brownstone in New York that he leveraged in that deal also, which helped him acquire, give them the capital he needed to take the closing.
So let's talk about all the team members. Let's talk about all these team members that he joined on in order to get the McCall done.
Okay.
So everybody that he brought in order to raise the $1 million. Correct. Who else did he bring on? I remember him mentioning a name that he brought in just for credibility. You remember that?
So I can't remember the gentleman's name.
I remember him saying, I need him to let them know that I'm serious.
Yes. That was the relationship. I cannot remember his name off the head.
Greg or something. I remember because they was like, because they asked the question, is this person serious? And he was like, yo, I'm saying he's serious. Yeah. Vouching for him. Almost the same way his professor did.
Had to vouch for him.
Right. He found someone.
Yes, that was able to do that. And what that allowed him to do, obviously, that opened that door for him to get that financing. And you talk about, just to talk more about his team, he had to put together a pretty detailed structured team to handle the tax portions. That's where he gained his edge at. He was able to manipulate the tax structures on these deals and free cash flow for him to actually pay back on the debts that he acquired on the property, on the actual company. So that was his niche in the game that allowed him to go ahead and tap into and start doing a lot of venture capital deals, obviously bigger deals.
Right. His team building skills almost, I feel like that might not even be the subject. The subject might be his master planning skills.
Oh, yeah.
And him saying, okay, it's almost as the book shows how he has like a laser focus. Once he says, okay, McCall is it, or Harvard's it, or the paper route's it, he locks in.
Absolutely.
And the book shows he does nothing else and he crosses every T and dot. And I want to stress that, how he'll sit down and say, okay, I want McCall. This is how much McCall costs. How can I raise the money? So he got the finance section. He
Yeah.
puts a foolproof plan for that together. Then he's like, okay, credibility, foolproof plan together.
Yep.
The team that I need in order to manage it, foolproof, like everything. He leaves nothing.
Yeah. And let's also talk about, one of the things he talked about in the book that I took from it. The biggest thing was when he's looking to buy.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
when he's looking to buy a company, he's looking for companies that have great management, basically a great investment, and great cash flow. So a company I can buy for cheap, that has good management, that I can put good management around, and that I can cash flow off of. And those are three things that I pulled from the book, because that's me looking to get more into the real estate game and into buying and hold properties and even flip properties and stuff like that. I want to have good management. If it's not me, put a good team of management around, make sure that they're running smoothly. Obviously, getting the deals done. So if we talk about the McCall deal, essentially he put $1 million of his own money up. The deal in total was $22 million, but he sold it for 90.
For 90 million.
He kept calling it the 90-1 deal, and he got a lot of favorable publicity because of that deal. And he was able, that opened doors for him to keep going into bigger deals. But back to the team building part, with that good management, what he did was the companies. So let's talk about, let's step back for a second and talk about the due diligence that he did prior to. So he had to learn about the pattern business. He had to learn what the market share was. He's seen that it was a declining business.
Right. So everybody says.
So everybody.
Right. They thought it was stupid that he was trying to buy.
He was trying to get into that business. Correct. And he knew who the big players were, and said, and instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, he actually retained the CEO of the McCall company that was already on board. He basically gave him what he wanted to stay on board. I think it might even been a piece of equity. Definitely, common stock, stock shares. But what that allowed him to do was keep the management. All right, let's keep this thing flowing how it is. I'm going to work on the back end to fix the numbers. So that's when he started implementing his tax strategy. So that in comes his tax team that helped put that together, and he just basically was the final say in it all, which was extraordinary. You know what I mean?
And it's wild because I really want people to take away that his ability to put those teams together and put those plans together, because even like you said, even after he succeeded at his plan to purchase the company, he succeeded at his plan to make the company successful.
Yes.
Like we're talking about a company that was losing, and he took them to a profitable place. So he had to sit down, put that plan in place for that. And then he decided he wanted to get out and he wanted to sell this company. So he knew, okay, I want to get the company to this place so that I could profit a lot from it. So he put a plan in place for that as well.
That's his strategy.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. And just to even talk more about the team building, because what I don't want to go missed in it was that he set the tone and set the example for his team. So he was the first one in, he was the last one out, and that was displayed in the book. A lot of the people that were on these deals that spoke of him in the book said how diligent and how hard he actually worked. And then when you signed up to work with him, you had to be all in or nothing. So he might call you at 1 o'clock in the morning, like say, hey, I need you over at the office, and he's going to beat you there.
All right.
So again, when you're talking about leadership and team building, I think that's one of the things that I really took from the book is that, and that I want to, carry into, the next level of where I'm trying to go with my businesses. Obviously I have a pretty good work ethic, I like to think, but setting that tone to get people to buy into, you know what I mean? And the people that come on board for those teams, those people putting in a lot of hours. You know what I mean? They were getting pretty nice pays at the end. So the reward was great.
Everybody ate,
but it was brutal up to that point. So there was a lot of sacrifice that had to be that they had to have at that time, which I mean, a lot of them, most of those people that were on this first deal with him moved on to this next deals with him.
Right, true story. They realized although it was rough, we were successful.
And he was hard to work with.
It almost brings you back to sports. Like, think about we never played on the same team together, right, but I could imagine it was the same culture. Yeah. Everybody's pushing everybody. Everybody's holding it. Like we always ready to fight because I want to win, you want to win, and we're going to push each other. Reginald took that mindset into the business world. Right. I'm pushing everybody. There's no excuse. I'm going to hold you to an impossible standard so that you're somewhere here. Yes. Because if he didn't, they would just operate at average. Absolutely. So he said, this is impossible. You got to be impossible. And they be here. Yep. And it made the company successful.
Made him grow.
You know what I'm saying? And that's extremely important.
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, when you think about it, man, like you said, we're the type of guys, and I know other guys that have been entrepreneurs longer than me, they take it on all themselves. So, you know, and yeah. I mean, I'm just saying we all do it because we don't feel like we're either in the place to get the support, or we don't necessarily know how to get people to buy in. But there's always hungry people out there. We just have to be diligent enough to seek and find.
I agree. I'll be honest. Mine came from getting burnt early. I've always had a personality where I like to keep my relationships cool with folks, especially my loved ones.
Correct.
And early on, my early hustle when I was like 10 years old was cutting grass. And I put my homie on. And I mean, I had a nice little route.
Yeah.
And so I've got a second lawnmower, and he wanted to make some money. So I'm like, cool. I gave him 2 lawns down by where he lived.
Okay.
And you know what I'm saying? Long story short, I got a phone call that night from Coach Rick.
Yeah.
Rick Crawford.
Okay.
And he said, "Oh, what's going on?
Yeah.
Only half of my grass is cut."
Oh. Yeah.
So I called my homie. I'm like, "Yo, what's good? Like, I don't have this reputation. I'm cleaning everything up. I don't care if I'm 10 years old. This is crispy.
Right.
People want me to cut their grass."
Absolutely.
And so it almost ruined our relationship, and I never wanted that to happen again. I'm just not realizing this is some therapeutic shit.
Oh yeah, we talking.
You know what I'm saying?
Let's get it.
I realized at that moment, like, wow, that's why you don't trust nobody to build with you, because you don't really want to ruin any relationships.
Yeah.
But I almost have to be willing to.
Yeah.
Because in all actuality, I probably won't. It'll probably make it better.
Yeah, and you have to, and we have to set that standard from the very jump. Like, and all right, we're talking again. We talked about desire. We talked about faith. We talked about discipline. We talked about being able to process issues. But we also got to talk about how you have to set the standard. You have to, at all times, you know, you have to be consistent with that. That consistency is a huge key to, I think, what we've seen with Reginald Lewis, because every day he was at it. You know, once the deal got done, they celebrated, and then he's back to it. You know what I mean? I'm sure, you know, they took vacations. He always talked about the Harvard Club, you know, where like he would go he liked certain places he'd like to celebrate, you know, get his team, take care of his team and stuff like that. But he made the work that he put in made the reward that much better.
Right.
So, and you know, like I said, finding teammates and team members to see the big picture is definitely going to be a major key. Because you know, likewise to your story, it was very similar, but I didn't. A lot of my friends, they kind of shied away. You know what I mean? From the work, because I used to cut grass. I mean, I would do just about anything. I'd collect cans, you know what I mean? We were scrapping. My granddad showed me how to scrap. And, you know, a lot of my friends would shy away from that stuff. So, you know, fast forward, you know, I'm still trying to get to that point now with, you know, friends and people that I deal with or talk to, is actually like, all right, you know, it kind of still sits in the back of my mind. Like, all right, man, you didn't even want to cut grass back in the day with me. So why would I want to bring you on with this real estate deal?
Right. You can honestly feel it when people be like, yo, what's up? I want to do such and such. I'm like, you ain't really showed me that you really do want to do this. Like,
Yeah.
I'm with it, but
Yeah.
are you really going to get in the doghouse with me? Like,
Yes.
I've never worked on a crib in my life. I
know.
grew up in a home with a
Talk
single
about
mother.
it. Yeah.
She ain't know how to fix nothing. I ain't know how to fix nothing.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying? It's been dogged out. YouTube University, Google University, figuring out everything. Piping. I changed the water. I put the drywall up, mudded everything. Like, research myself.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I mean, my brother-in-law helped me a little bit with the drywall, but I finished it because I had to.
Yeah.
Like, I need to see that from you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But and think about this though too, Seth, because going forward, when you do more properties, and when I do more properties, now we know what that looks like. Right. So we know that the expectations are already there. So yeah, it might have took us 3 days to get that drywall done, but if I got contractor coming through to do the drywall, all right, you charge me a certain price to do that drywall. How long is it going to take you to get that done?
Shouldn't take you more than a day and a half.
Now you can set those parameters, and it's going to help you move forward. So then that contractor and I, we can talk about that because I think that was a lot of my challenges. It's been a lot of my challenges in the beginning with trying to get the real estate really going. Is that you try to cut costs by getting certain people to do certain jobs, and not to belittle anybody or anything like that, but you might get Joe Schmo the drunk down the street because you seen him do a floor for somebody else and he's gonna do it for $100, and all right, cool, come on, do this floor. You end up spending another $500 to clean up Joe Schmo's mess. So,
true story.
Recognizing those things, and so Joe's not gonna be on my team going forward. Now I'm getting better with that. I'm realizing that, I have to look more towards the back end for my strategy and what I'm trying to do.
True.
Sort of just like he did. You know what I mean? Like, just like Reginald did. He was very good at seeing the bigger picture and what he could do on the back end. Right. So, yeah, all right, I might have to pay more money up front for this lawyer to review this contract or the accountant to make sure the numbers is right. You know what I mean?
And when you do not cut corners and you actually go the real route, that's difficult. It's so much more benefits because although you might have got it cheap from Joe Smo, first off, you didn't pay him. You didn't give a W-9, so you can't even write this off.
Correct.
You can't even put this as a cost on your taxes. So it's not documented. Then, that doesn't help you when it...
And then, did you account for that cash that you actually spent?
Exactly. You can't now. That's just money that's gone. Yeah. Then you got to put more work in or you got to be there on their back telling them what to do, yada, yada, yada. Yep. And then, like this, it's remind me of COVID. Yeah. Like the whole COVID stuff with the relief money.
Yeah.
Like a lot of black companies who couldn't reap the benefits from the COVID because not too many black organizations are actually writing down all the details.
Yep.
Because they want to keep their money. They don't want to pay taxes. Yeah. And this isn't just black people.
No.
I reached out to a lot of black companies about it.
Right.
And a lot of them didn't have their books right.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that comes with, when you do that right, those benefits are there.
Yeah.
When the bank sees, okay, these might have been your costs.
Yeah, here's your balance sheet.
You made this amount of money.
Here's your cash flow statement.
Now you can get lent more money to extend. But if you held back 20 grand, you know what I'm saying? You try to go to the bank, you're like, whoa, no.
Here, take this cash.
Now, you can't lie, because what if an audit comes and all? You know what I'm saying? So
where'd this come from?
Doing things, and even like you said, going to a lawyer, spending that money. Yeah. You made that lawyer probably knows something that'll take this to a whole nother level and answer more than what your question was.
Listen, and this has been my experience this year. I had a lawyer that wrote up a contract for me that is going to set the standard for me going forward on how I design. Now, I don't have to get this contract in, but I'm going to use the same strategy in doing real estate deals using this contract that she wrote up. And so that $1,500, $500 that I paid to that attorney is going to make 10x or more. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and then also, thinking about, not to get too much into, the real estate part of things and stuff like that, but, thinking about acquiring properties, the way we've been acquiring them through the auctions and stuff like that, through foreclosures, things like that, with the clouds on the title. I'm one of those people that wants to have that taken care of from the rip. So I'm already accounting for those costs.
Right.
So, and then, think about that relationship. Also, once that attorney or that lawyer sees that you do good business, you can almost call on them anytime. Hey, could you help me with this? Or hey, what do you think about this? Or can I come see you? And they understand the relationship's there. So now that's a teammate. That contractor that did good work and you were able to get them their money on time with no issues, and you're able to get your people stay on schedule with your stay on track with your schedule. He's a teammate now. That accountant at the end of the year that you utilize that helps you put your information, make sure it's all organized, make sure you're following the tax laws and the tax codes for that year. Teammate now. So it takes time, man. You know what I mean? And I think that's what we're working towards. I mean, it's got to be a little bit more challenging, trying to actually build a business from the ground up and develop a team. He was, like we talked about earlier, he was acquiring businesses that were already in place. So it's a lot easier to put a team around something like that than actually building something from the ground up because, all right, let's talk about it. So, you had that friend that was young that was fast with counting. He was great in multiplication. So, all right, we're gonna put him in charge of the money. You know what I mean? You got that friend that was strong and that he can lift everybody up. So we're gonna make him in charge of the labor work.
Just the muscle, right?
Yeah, and that might not necessarily be the roles of those people. That is, there's always a place you can find somebody, you know what I mean? But when we're talking about Reginald Lewis and we're talking about that level of business, you're talking about spending millions of dollars to acquire these people, build those relationships, or might even be less than that. They talked about some of the money that some of them received. Some was only a couple $100,000 for a year. He made obviously what he made off of those deals, but the sacrifice that he showed and their willingness to accept and buy in is what made that work.
Right. And I think to recap this all up is to not look at anything as impossible.
Correct.
But to set the stage at what is the goal and work backwards from who do I need, how much do I need, what am I going to do when I get here? Yep. You know what I'm saying? Like not hoping that things work out, not wishing that things, like literally ironing it out. Even if that plan takes you a week, do that.
And then even what are the challenges? Who's my competition? Because you have to know who's on the other side to be able to kind of see where you fit in at or where you may be pushed at. You know what I mean? I think he did a lot of that in the beginning, which was fantastic because he knew that not only did he have to build his team to try to get the deal done, but he was working against a lot of other barriers that were keeping him from getting that deal done because, investment bankers hold the key to what he's trying to do. So to be able to navigate those relationships, but he identified that from the beginning. And, like I said, I think that helped him to really, really, really scale what he was trying to do. True.